News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Will there be charges in the Fox Club shooting? Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It's Wednesday, September 24th, 2014. And we have a potential today of setting a brand new record. As a matter of fact, if it reaches 90 today, which is the forecast high, it'll be the latest in history that it's ever been this warm in Missoula. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Montana Morning. Our newscast this morning is sponsored by Dr. Troy Doxey, the friendly team at Chiropractic Works, where they're dedicated to chiropractic solutions. Call 728-0222. Right now, we have 53 degrees under a mostly clear sky. Missoula Police Department announced yesterday the homicide investigation at the Fox Club Lounge has been delivered to the Missoula County Attorney's Office to determine if charges will be filed. Deputy County Attorney Jason Marks told me more yesterday.
The case was referred to the Missoula County Attorney's Office by the Missoula City Police Department earlier this afternoon, and we've started our review of the case.
Marks details some of the factors his staff will be reviewing in the case.
Given the serious nature of the crime, it gets our very highest priority in terms of reviewing it in the timeline we have, but we're just going through all the reports and witness statements and video and things like that, evaluating the case.
The fatal shooting occurred early Monday morning, Labor Day, September 1st. Public Information Officer Travis Welsh says upon arrival, officers found an adult male, later identified as 23-year-old Christopher Michael Heimel, suffering from a gunshot wound to the chest. Another adult male at age 27 identified himself as the shooter and immediately surrendered himself and his weapon to officers. The name of the shooter will not be released unless charges are filed. A Montana prosecutor will seek 10 years in prison for a teacher who raped a 14-year-old student after the Supreme Court rejected a 1-month sentence handed down earlier by a judge who pinned partial responsibility on the victim. A resentencing hearing for 55-year-old Stacey Dean Rambold is scheduled for this Friday in Billings. Yellowstone County Attorney Scott Tweeto said yesterday he'll ask for 20 years in state prison for Rambold with 10 years suspended. Rambold's attorney wants a more lenient 15-year sentence with all but 2 years suspended. Defense attorney Jay Lansing says Rambold has no prior criminal record. He's ranked by the state as a low-risk sex offender. The former Billings Senior High School business teacher was 47 when he raped freshman Cherise Morales. She later committed suicide. A Missoula man is facing criminal charges after accidentally shooting himself outside the Lucky Strike Casino in Missoula. Police Detective Sergeant Travis Welsh explains what happened.
About 5:30, officers responded to a location in the 1500 block of Dearborn Avenue. The report of a male who had accidentally shot himself. Officers responded, and as well as EMS. The male was initially transported for medical treatment, and he was subsequently treated and released.
After treatment, the man was then taken into custody.
After that treatment, he was arrested for charges involving negligent endangerment and issues with his weapon. He is identified as 29-year-old Lance Rischel, and he will be appearing on those charges in municipal court. Welsh
says Rischel was under the influence of alcohol at the time of that shooting. Leaders of Native American tribes and First Nations in the U.S. and Canada have signed a treaty to restore bison along the international border. Treaty organization said representatives of 11 tribes and First Nations from Montana and Alberta signed the pact during a ceremony yesterday on the Blackfeet Reservation. They say it marks the first treaty among the tribes since the 1800s, when their ancestors still roamed the border region hunting bison, or, of course, buffalo. Leroy Little Bear is with the Blood Tribe, part of the Blackfoot Confederacy of Tribes in the U.S. and Canada. He says the long-term goal is to allow bison to roam across the border and restore cultural ties severed when overhunting drove bison nearly extinct in the late 1800s. Missoula County Sheriff's Office has been investigating a series of burglaries in the Seeley Lake area and has determined now that the suspect has apparently left the area. Public Information Officer Paige Pamelone says residents in the Seeley and Salmon Lake areas have been concerned for their safety and property.
The deputy informed us that a lot of residents were really concerned for their safety and the safety of their property because they had been terrorized by a burglar for the past 6 weeks. So deputies took several reports of burglary incidences at 4 different residences.
Pavillon said the investigation has revealed that the alleged burglar has left the area.
Deputies, after a lot of investigation and talking to a lot of people, have determined who the burglar was, and they know that he has left town. So they wanted me to put the message out there to Sealy Lake residents that they identified who the person was. They're seeking a warrant for his arrest. As far as we understand, he is not in Missoula County any longer.
Pavillon could not release the suspect's name, but did say he's a 20-year-old white male and he has left the state. A 73-year-old Missoula man who lost his Florence area ranch back in a 1979 divorce and spent more than 20 years in prison for intimidating judges, attorneys, and others involved in the case is now charged with threatening to kidnap the current owners and showing up at the property. John Fessler Lance II was arrested at the ranch September 15th after Ravalli County deputies arrived to find him on the ground with owners Lee and Lucinda Hain, each pointing a gun at him. Last year, Montanans that enrolled for health insurance on the Affordable Care Act exchanges were only able to choose from 3 providers. According to Insurance Commissioner's Office Communications Director Jennifer McKee, there's now a new option available this year.
We have a 4th issuer who will be selling in the marketplace next year. So the new issuer that we have is a company called Assurant. They will join the 3 other issuers that sold in the marketplace last year, and those were Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana, Pacific Source, and the Montana Health Co-op.
McKee says prices are already available for most insurance providers, but not quite yet for Assurant.
Assurant is, their rate review process is still in process, and so those plans are not, the prices are not out for public viewing at this point. The other 3 companies, that rate review process is complete, and their prices are already on our website, which is montanahealthanswers.com.
The ACA exchanges will open in November this year instead of October. Plans may be purchased starting November 15th. Officials with the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation said yesterday the Lost Mine Loop fire up on Upper Miller Creek Road would be 100% controlled by the end of the day. Spokesman Jordan Copen said the fire has calmed down considerably in the past 24 hours.
We have one hand crew up there right now, and they're just doing mop-up operations. So we're basically, putting the fire to bed. In a way, probably going to be 100% contained by the end of this afternoon. I'm betting around 2 or 3.
In a related story, the Missoula County Fire Protection Association has increased the fire danger level back to high. Copen, a member of the association, said the warm temperatures expected through tomorrow have prompted the move.
The shrubs and the grasses out there, the early morning frost kills, a lot of these plants, and then they dry and shrivel up. And, they're super combustible. So, like I said, just urging the public to be super cautious out there.
Wet and cooler weather will be moving into western Montana over the weekend. Newstalk Time, 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Ample sunshine and near record-breaking highs today and Thursday. Temperatures will warm into the upper 80s and low 90s. Overnight lows will drop back into the mid to upper 50s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13, your first alert station.